For 4 years, this information allegedly sat in a room with the people who knew it, and every single one of them made the same decision. Stay quiet, keep the peace, protect the secret. But secrets in Chicago do not stay buried forever. They resurface. They leak through court documents. They slip out in interviews when someone forgets what they are supposed to be hiding. And this one, this particular secret, if it is what sources are now allegedly claiming it is, does not rewrite the story of King Von and Quando Rondo. It rewrites the entire moral architecture of the most generation. Think new, street rivalries from. You thought the night of November 6, 2020, in Atlanta was a random chaotic collision of two crews who hated each other. But what if the connection between King Von and Quando Rondo went so much deeper than a rap beef? So deep that the one person who could have stopped everything allegedly had a reason to stay silent that nobody in the public ever knew about. What if the woman mourning Von and the woman connected to Quando are not two different women standing on opposite sides of a tragedy, but allegedly the same woman, standing in the middle of it? Feel that in your chest for a second. Because sources close to people who knew both families are now allegedly saying that Tasha Bennett, King Von's mother, the woman who has been publicly grieving her son for 4 years, the woman who has been asking for justice in interviews and on social media, may have a connection to Quando Rondo's biological family that goes beyond anything the internet has ever speculated about. And if that connection is what it allegedly is, then every press statement, every silence, every carefully worded social media post takes on a completely different meaning. You cannot leave right now. Because the next 4 minutes of this video contain information that changes not just the story, it allegedly changes everything you thought the grief was about. To understand how a secret this massive could allegedly exist for 4 years without becoming public knowledge, you first have to understand the world that both King Von and Quando Rondo came from. Because it is a world where family structures are complicated, where fathers disappear, where mothers carry more than one set of children across more than one relationship, and where the community code of silence is not just cultural, it is survival. King Von, born Davon Daquan Bennett on August 9, 1994, grew up on O Block in the Parkway Gardens neighborhood of Chicago's South Side. His mother, Tasha Bennett, also known publicly as Mama Von, raised him in one of the most documented environments of concentrated poverty and street violence in the entire United States. Von had 9 siblings total, 3 from his mother's side and 6 half-siblings from his father Walter Bennett's side. 6. That number matters. That number is the thread that allegedly starts pulling this entire story apart. Walter Bennett, King Von's father, was, according to multiple confirmed reporting, in and out of incarceration throughout Von's childhood, and was ultimately murdered, mirroring a tragic cycle that Von himself would later rap about explicitly. But what the public reporting on Walter Bennett consistently glossed over is the scope of his relationships across different cities, different states, different women, and the children those relationships produced. Von himself acknowledged in interviews that he had half-siblings he barely knew. He said it casually, the way people from that environment often do, because the reality of extended, blended, geographically scattered families is so normalized that it does not feel like information worth emphasizing. But here is where it gets interesting. Quando Rondo, born Tiquian Terrell Bowman on March 23, 1999, in Savannah, Georgia, has been publicly tight-lipped about his biological father for essentially his entire public life. His mother's identity, her background, her family connections have never been a topic he has opened up about in any major interview. What is publicly known is fragmented. There is footage of Quando finding his mother in a difficult situation on the streets, emotional clips that circulated online and showed a complicated and painful family dynamic. But the name of his father, the history of his father, the geography of where his father came from, that information has never been confirmed publicly. And according to sources who have allegedly been tracking this story for the past 18 months, that silence was not accidental. Word on the street is that individuals close to both families have known about a potential biological connection through paternal lineage for years, specifically that Quando Rondo's mother and King Von's mother may share more than just the grief of watching their children destroyed by the same beef. Allegedly, the connection runs through a man whose relationship stretched from Chicago to Georgia, a pattern that is not unusual in families connected through the prison pipeline, through street networks that operate across state lines, through the kind of mobility that comes when someone spends years moving between cities while building multiple lives simultaneously. A source who claims to have been present at a private family gathering in late 2023 allegedly told a close associate, and that associate allegedly told a rap blogger whose content has since been removed, that Tasha Bennett went visibly quiet when Quando Rondo's name came up in a specific context. Not angry. Not emotional. Quiet. The kind of quiet that sources claim felt deliberate. Now, before anyone misreads what is being alleged here, this is not a claim that King Von and Quando Rondo are brothers. That is not what sources are suggesting. What is allegedly being suggested is something more specific and in some ways more haunting, that Quando Rondo's mother and King Von's mother may be connected through a shared paternal figure in Quando's biological history, creating a family link that, if real, would mean that the woman Tasha potentially had a reason to know Quando Rondo in a capacity that went far beyond the public narrative of enemy versus enemy. It would mean that the silence surrounding Quando's father was not just personal privacy. It was allegedly protection of a secret that, if it came out, would destabilize the entire emotional and moral framework that the Justice for Von movement has been built on. And this is the part that nobody is talking about. Quando Rondo's mother appeared on camera in footage that circulated online, breaking down, visibly devastated, after the events surrounding King Von's death and the subsequent legal fallout. The internet largely read that breakdown as the behavior of a mother terrified for her son's safety. And that reading is probably partially accurate. But sources close to the situation allegedly claim that the emotion in that footage carried a weight that went beyond fear for Quando. That it carried, allegedly, the specific grief of someone who understood the loss on Von's side in a way that the public did not know she had. Think about what it would mean to grieve someone you were connected to, even distantly, even through a complicated and secret family thread, while simultaneously being the mother of the person the world blamed for that loss. Stay right here because it gets worse. Because in October 2024, when Lil Durk was federally indicted on murder-for-hire charges that alleged a coordinated, financed plot to kill Quando Rondo in retaliation for King Von's death, a name surfaced in the court documents that sent a specific subset of people in Chicago's street reporting community into a quiet panic. Not Durk's name. Not OTFDD's name. A female name. An individual allegedly described in preliminary documents as a person with knowledge of both families' internal dynamics, whose identity was subsequently sealed by the court. Sources claim that this individual's sealing was not routine. It was, allegedly, specifically requested. And the people allegedly requesting it were not connected to Durk's defense team. The identity of that sealed witness has not been confirmed. But the fact that the sealing was requested, the fact that a woman with knowledge of both families' dynamics is allegedly sitting in a federal file somewhere